All right, folks, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. Again, thank you everybody for joining us this Thursday afternoon. Very exciting stuff. I have a message at the top regarding CTLE hours and the recording. We'll share all of that. If you're just joining us, feel free to share what school you're representing, how you might be using AI now in your teaching practice, or maybe you're not using it. We'd love to hear that too. Hopefully we can change some minds, get some people excited about using AI. Seeing people come in. Thank you everybody for joining us. No AI yet. Okay. All right. Hopefully we can change some minds here. Jennifer, thank you for joining us. All right. Maybe we'll get started. All right. Okay, folks, thank you everybody for joining us today on this session on transforming teaching and learning with Gemini. Danita, I'm gonna pass it to you to kick it off.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining. I guess I can go ahead and get started and introduce myself. But before I do that, I just want to give a quick thank you all for making the time to join. I know that you all had a busy work day today. So thank you for making the time to set some time with us this afternoon. My name is Danita Morgan. I am your direct point of contact here at Google. I sit in our New York City offices, and I also started my career as a New York City educator and taught for many years. So all of which to say, I understand New York City very well. I've worked directly in the classroom and have also served outside of the classroom, supporting schools, supporting leaders, and supporting teachers with all things technology. So really bring that full 360 perspective to my role here at Google. And we're really excited to be here today and to partner with our partner of the year, by the way, Project Recess and Santi.
Thank you so much, Danita. So my name is Santi Karasamy. I'm the founder of a company called Project Recess. Essentially, we help schools leverage technology for teaching and learning. We've been partnering with Google for over 10 years, leading a lot of these sessions on, getting teacher certified level 1, level 2. And now the big conversation is how do we leverage AI for this? So very excited to be here. Google has been a tremendous partner, and so has Danita. So thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. And fun fact, I've known Santi since before I started working at Google. So Santi's
We go back. We go way back.
Absolutely. All right, Santi, do you want to kick us off here? You want me to?
Sure.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, just tomorrow is National AI Literacy Day. So that's part of the reason why we're having this conversation right now. As I mentioned, AI has changed the conversation on every industry, particularly education. So there are a lot of PDs happening tomorrow. We're going to share more resources on what you can watch, we can join. We wanted to celebrate a day early, make sure you get ahead of the game, and also save your Friday. You're welcome. So happy early National AI Literacy Day. We want to get everybody excited about using these tools. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say for the agenda for the day, we'll start by doing a quick overview of AI in terms of how it relates to Google and what we're doing in this space for education, and then diving into more in depth and details of the Gemini app specifically and the products as you see listed here, as well as speaking through our new AI course that you all can take as well. Before we dive deeply into this, I wanted to also name that for IRMA, Google is currently in its last phase of being accepted through IRMA. We'll talk through our data protection so you all understand that as well, but wanted to name that you can use it on your personal account at this moment in time, but as it relates to your school managed domain, that should be live next week. I have been told this through many folks within your senior leadership level, so hold us to that. But we wanted to make sure, again, that you all have first opportunity to be able to actually learn and understand how to use Gemini so that when it is live next week, you can go ahead and get started and hit the ground running. All right, so before we dive all the way in, thank you. I have a hand raised. Is there a question, or Colleen, or was that an accident? Okay.
That was an accident. Sorry, I was trying to give it a pause.
Listen, I'm a former teacher, so if you have questions, feel free to ask. You can also throw it in the chat. But as we get started, I wanted to start by grounding us in terms of activity where we can actually think through how many years do you think it took for us to get to 50 million people who rode their very first airplane? And you can throw it in the chat. What's the number? How many years do you think it took for 50 million people to ride the airplane for the first time, or ride an airplane, take their first flight? 20 years, Audrey. 10 from Matt. Thank you so much. There's no, Stephanie around the world. Well, just taking their first ride. It doesn't matter where. Since the airplane was invented, Fritz, we have 50 years. How long do you think it took before we had 50 million people who had actually taken their first ride on an airplane?
So from the Wright brothers to and on 68 years. Okay.
68 years. So shout out to you, Jennifer. You had 65. You were closest. But yes, it was 68 years before people took their first airplane. And honestly, quite frankly, I understand why they took their time in doing so. How about the internet? How long did it take for 50 million people to actually use the internet for the first time? 10, 25 years, 10. Oh, we have quite a few people who said 10, 20, 14. All right, let's see. These are all great guesses. 7 years. Carrie, you are the closest, coming in at 5 years. So 7 years. So you can see that drastic difference with regard to how technology is being adopted. How about social media? Facebook. 50 million people to use Facebook. How long did that take? 1 year, 2 years, 1 year, 6 years, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years. Let's see. 3 years. So we split the middle. Santi, 3. You got it right. Right at 3 years.
I didn't see these in advance. I was guessing also.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he did not see it as well. So you see how, I mean, we went from 68 all the way down to 3, longer than you thought. I will say Facebook, when it first started, it was only open to people who were in college, right? You had to have absolutely, Michael. Yeah, I was a part of that era as well. Yep. So first it was
the Facebook, right? The Facebook.
Absolutely. So how about generative AI? So we're seeing that trend of how it's, taking less time. Stephanie comes in at 2 months.
Okay.
Generative AI, 9 months. 1 year, I'm assuming, Fritz. Yep, 5 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 months, 1 to 2 months. Let's see. 1 day.
Hey, there you go.
5 weeks. So we had some folks who said 1 to 2 months. Yeah, ChatGPT was very quick, Carrie. You're correct. So when it came to generative AI, and what we're seeing right now as a whole with regard to AI adoption, it has been so quick with regard to how many people are able to be able to get to 50 million people leveraging and using AI. So this is very vital and important that we as educators and as leaders in the education space are taking this new technology seriously and learning how to use it ourselves so that we can also support our students as they're preparing themselves for the world that they have, which does include generative AI at their fingertips as well. So a lot of growth that has happened over time in terms of the use of these different products. And generative AI is now that newest implementation and transformative tool that we have access to. So with regard to Google, we've been in the space for a very long time. So we've been integrating and incorporating AI in our products and in our tools. We've reoriented our company around AI. In 2015, you'll see that we had Google DeepMind, which is essentially an AI research company. We acquired that organization. They now work for Google. In fact, I have a question. I saw someone mention ChatGPT earlier. How many of you understand know what the T stands for in ChatGPT? You could throw it in the chat. What does a T stand for in ChatGPT?
Here's a hint. It's more than meets the eye. If anybody gets that reference.
Translation. Close. All right.
Transformers.
Yes, it does. It stands for transformer. And what you're seeing here in 2019, Google actually created the transformer. So that T in ChatGPT comes from a product that Google created, which really revolutionized AI and made it so that organizations like OpenAI could take this technology, make it accessible, and make it available to the world. So that was something that we had created in-house here at Google. Okay, so our goal with regard to Gemini, which is the name of our AI suite of tools that you have access to, is to have it be a personal assistant or an educational assistant to be able to help you do things like save time, inspire creativity, make learning more personal, and doing this all while keeping your data private and keeping your data secure. So as it relates to Google, we own the entire AI tech stack. And what that means is at every different layer and level, we have created our own software. So that's Gemini for Workspace, Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Classroom, all the products that you use. And then as it relates to AI directly, we have the Gemini app, that chat experience, Notebook LM. We also have our own models, which is the underpinnings and the back end of what's being used to actually power that AI forecast and solution that you have access to, such as Gemini, Learn LM. And then we also have the devices, so Chromebook devices. I know you see a call out here to Chromebook Plus devices, which are actually AI ready. So they come with AI and Gemini tools embedded directly on those Chromebook Plus devices. But many of you have your students who are using Chromebooks. And then you also have Android devices as well through our cell phones. And then finally, we have the cloud infrastructure. So all the way from software down to cloud infrastructure, we own and have created our own products and our own tools. What that means is it makes it more safe for you to be able to use. We are not negotiating with any third parties or any additional organizations to be able to roll out and make this feature set and make these tools available for you. And again, if you have any questions, please throw that in the chat. So also wanted to name here, when we say your data is private and secure, what we mean is it's not being used to train the models. It's not being shared with anyone else. There's no human oversight, not being used for advertisement. Essentially, all of the data protections that you have when you're using Google Classroom, when you're using Google Docs, they all persist as it relates to Gemini. And we call that a core service. So Google Drive is a core service. Google Classroom is a core service. It all has these layers of protections that are included within your Google Workspace for EDU terms of service. And Gemini sits directly under that. So it adheres to all of those same standards. We're FERPA, HIPAA, COPPA compliant. We have all of the compliance that you can imagine because we are a global organization and we have a full educational team who's sitting behind the scenes to make sure that what we're doing is directly aligned to you. And as it relates to our principles, we were one of the first organizations to actually make our principles public, where we are thinking through, and we took what we learned from the rollout of Google Search and said, we want to be bold as it relates to AI. We want to make sure we're very bold and innovative, which you can always count on with any Google products, but we also want to be responsible. So we're thinking through, who does this technology support? Who does this technology enable? But then also, who could be harmed by this technology? So Google really takes that balancing act of looking from both perspectives whenever we're rolling out any new technology as it relates to AI. If you want to learn more about our additional principles, you can go to ai.google and it lists all the principles that we have there. But I wanted to highlight these three to let you understand exactly how we're approaching everything that we're rolling out in Gemini. And also, we are an educational team. So I sit on the Google for Education team. And what's great about that is you have former educators. I work directly in New York City public schools, but you also have a team of people who have looked at and understood how can we make sure that what we're rolling out in Gemini is directly aligned to education. So we've created a series or fine-tuned a set of models called Learn LM. And what this does is it makes it so that everything that we integrate is actually directly aligned to education as a whole. So you're seeing that pedagogy implemented into all of the different products that many of you are already leveraging and using. When we did this, we did not do this alone. So although I worked in the classroom, anyone who has worked in education understands that once you step outside of that classroom and once you step away, Google does not take that perspective of we still are experts when it comes to pedagogy, and we still are experts in understanding education as a whole. So we actually partnered with other leading institutions like Columbia University, Teachers College, NYU, to make sure that we are directly aligned and to understand what do we want this AI and what do we want Gemini to be able to do for educational institutions. And so through that research and through that conversation, we came out with learning science principles that we apply and integrate into our Gemini experience. And you'll be able to see what that looks like as we dive deep into the demos. So one, we want to make sure that we're inspiring active learning. We're managing that cognitive load. We don't simply want you to submit a prompt and then get a response. We want to be able to offer more. We want to spark curiosity for you, deepen your metacognition, help make sure that you're learning, and also, of course, adapting to all of the different types of learners that we serve. So that's what you're going to get when you're leveraging and using Gemini. And then finally, I wanted to shift over and talk through what is Gemini? So there are many different, flavors of Gemini that you would have access to. So first and foremost, we have a free tier for Gemini, and that is the Gemini app, which you see here on the left side. That is going to be that chat experience where you can have direct interaction and engagement with chat. I will say there are a lot of additional features and functionality that we've embedded into our chat experience. Super excited to be able to highlight and share those with you here today. And then we also have Notebook LM, and that's where you get your own notebook and your own experience to be able to add your own sources and essentially create your own personalized LM for yourself. It's like a notebook LM for you. So we'll be able to dive into what that looks like if you're not quite sure what that means at this point in time. And then here I'm just naming, and I'll name this at a high level, but I really will turn it over to Santi and we'll tag team and let you be able to actually see what this looks like. But you also have the ability to leverage GEMS, which is a custom AI where you're able to leverage a set of instructions that you give to Gemini that it will retain and remember, so that anytime you go and submit a prompt, it'll follow through with the instructions that you've already given it. One of the pre-made gems that we have created is called the learning gem. So you'll be able to actually see how Learn LM feeds into that for the learning coach. And then also this is something that just rolled out. And that's one thing that's also exciting. We consistently have new features coming into Gemini literally every day. I think it was last week that we rolled out deep research within Gemini. And that's also something that you get in that free chat experience as well. So you'll be able to see what that looks like in real time today here as well. I would say for research, you want to think through a question that you would leverage research, or you would want to have research be able to answer for you, and it'll create a research report. In terms of the teen experience, we've also made it so that Gemini is available for teenagers. So ages 13 and up could have access to Gemini as well. Similar to what we said about our principles, we didn't want to simply roll this out and make it available. So Ross' question, I'll answer that question in one moment, but we didn't want to simply make it available to teens. Before we did that, we partnered with the Family Online Safety Institute and made sure that we put the appropriate guardrails in place so that when we do roll it out to students ages 13 and up, there is fidelity there. So students have an onboarding video that they watch. They also are, and I was a former middle school teacher. I tried to break it. So I asked all the inappropriate questions you can imagine. And I will say there were very inspirational responses that came back from Gemini. So teenagers would actually have a more, safeguarded experience as they're using that chat experience. One question that came in was around IRMA. Once this is approved and vetted through your senior leadership team, and just for those of you who are joining, that's slated to roll out next week. Will we have access to everything that we're showing here today? As it relates to Gemini app, the chat experience, and as it relates to Notebook LM, you will have access. We'll talk through where there are Gemini licenses that are required, and that's where you're integrating Gemini directly into Google Docs and Google Drive and Google Slides. So that's where you're going to hit that paywall. And then there's also some and there's also additional features that will be also guided and needed to be have that license to be able to access. But we'll talk through the differences as we go through here today. Another question that came in is teen access. That's a question that we have to have a conversation with your leadership to see how you go about doing that, and if your individual schools will be going through to request that. But as it relates to Google, we have made it so that it is available, but you have the ability to turn it on and off. So we have to figure out exactly what your leadership team wants to do. As of now, our goal is to make it available to you as staff, and then also create awareness so that they know you can turn it on for teenagers. But please, in the feedback form, if that's something you're interested in doing, let us know so we can make sure we have that conversation as well. Alrighty, so we talked about Notebook LM briefly. I'm not going to dive too deep here because I know Santi is going to give you a really in-depth overview. Here is where the overview that gives you on the left side, what you're seeing here is that Gemini chat experience and Notebook LM. That's that free experience that we'd have access to. And then on the right side, you have Gemini Advanced, which is a different type of model. And then you also have Notebook LM Plus. So you're going to get additional audio overviews. We'll talk through more of that in a minute here. And you'll also have the ability to have Gemini directly integrated across all of your workspace apps that you're leveraging and using, including Google Classroom. That's another one. So if you want Gemini directly integrated in Classroom, you would have the ability to do that. What I will say, and what I've told a lot of districts, you have some teachers already in New York City who are part of a pilot where you get access to Gemini directly in Classroom for free. So if that's something that you want to be a part of, make sure you let us know as well. All right. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Santi, who can actually dive in and show us what this looks like. Colleen, do you have a question or another accident? We're all okay.
No,
I know if you.
I had a question.
Oh,
I'm
go
sorry,
for it.
I did sorry. I was just trying to find out. So you mentioned with Google Classroom. Is it something that Gemini is like almost like an embedded feature where, let's say we have English language learners and they need support with like writing, but they don't have the language? Is that an option that can kind of help support them through like Google Docs or things of that nature to build during a lesson?
Yeah, so here's what I'll show you right here. If you're in Google Classroom and you have the Gemini embedded, you would have this new tab called Gemini Education. Once I click that.
We can't see your screen. I took over. If you want to show your screen again, Danita.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I think you can see now. Oh, wait, let's see.
I'll stop presenting and then you can.
No problem. No problem. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay. Can you see? Okay, so here I am in, I think you all can see my screen now. Yes. So when I go to Classroom, if you have Gemini embedded, you now have this new tab called Gemini Education. And then that's where you're able to come in here. And I see this one piece right here calling translation of text. I have a lot that's included here, but there's so much that we're including and adding. We're going to change what this looks like. Right now it's in pilot. So if you're a part of the pilot, you would have access to everything that you see here. But being able to translate text to your direct question this is where you would be able to go to actually go about doing that and being able to pick whatever language it is that you would like to use to translate that text. With regard to students, they would have the ability to translate text in the Gemini chat experience if you have that turned on for your students.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Santi. And if there are any other questions, continue to add them to the chat or let us know and we'll answer them as they come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Danita. And how exciting is that, everybody? We're getting previews of all these things that you'll have access to. Yes, if you feel inclined, feel free to throw some emojis in the chat. Thank you, Danita. That was awesome. Feel free to click on the smiley face and throw some. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on. I feel more intelligent just listening to that intro right there. It's all very exciting. And just to frame everything before we dive into the demo of Gemini, I love having these conversations about AI with educators, specifically around, do you remember when Google Classroom came out? Can you believe it's been 10 years now since Google Classroom came out? I mean, even before that, who remembers Blackboard, right? Like if maybe you've taken a class in college using Blackboard, I have yet to meet somebody that has had a positive view on that. And I feel like when people use Google Classroom, it's like, this is how, this platform should have been. And it changed everything. Google Classroom changed how we teach, how we learn. And I firmly believe that Gemini has the same potential. So this is all very new. I think there are some really great questions that people are asking in the chat. This is the first of many sessions that we're going to have around AI and the best ways to use these. But I just want people to keep that in mind. Like these tools have big potential, and we're going to show a little bit of how you can leverage them. Beginning with the Gemini app, I know Danita shared a little bit of the information that we saw over here. Just the layout, what's available, things that are free, etc. But I do want to dive into this section talking about how to interact with these AI tools. So if folks have used an AI tool before, be it Gemini or something else, when you ask it a question, you're submitting a prompt, right? Like that's what it is. And what's interesting is that when I think of people who know how to use these tools well, or when I listen to podcasts or interviews with people who built these tools, they consistently say that the best people who know how to interact with these AI chatbots are educators, are teachers, because educators know how to ask the right questions. They are the experts in their in their knowledge base, and they know how to bring about information from these tools. So how do we write good prompts when we're interacting with these AI tools? We're getting into this idea of prompt engineering. We're going to share some information about a free AI course that you can take where you can learn how to do these things. Essentially, you want to be as specific as possible, right? A lot of folks, when they are using these AI tools, sometimes I hear, oh, this AI tool is not working for me. It's not giving me a good output. And that's because most of the times in those cases, the prompts that people use are not specific enough. So when we start using these things, I want folks to know that even if you get back a response that might not be 100% relevant to what you're doing, you want to provide as much context as possible. You want to talk about what you teach as a subject, what grade, what you want the output to be. Do you want it to be a rubric, an agenda, etc.? And so to give us an idea of, how these things work, what mindset to have with prompting, we're going to try this interactive right here. Danita showed this to me today. I think it's super cool. This is something that you could even try, with yourselves or with your kids. I have the tab open. Whoops, I'm gonna switch over to this tab right now. If you want to try it, I'll put it in the chat, or you can look on. But how this works is, it's almost like reverse engineering with prompting. So maybe you can put in the chat, what image do you see here? What do folks see here? Feel free to put it in the chat. What does that look like? That image where it says level 1. Thank you. So street in a city, wonderful. So thank you. So I'm going to type that in there, city. All right, cityscape. So if I type that in, so if I hit enter, it's using AI to generate, in this case, an image of what we see. So that image was generated with AI using, a prompt, like a very non-specific prompt. So this is how these things can work, right? Oh, let's try the next level. Let's do one more, and then we'll move on. Okay. So again, this is interesting. How would you describe this? Conceptual work. So feel free to put in the chat. What would you put in here as detailed as you can? And if I see something detailed, I might just copy what you wrote and put it in and see what happens here. Pool noodles standing upright. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, maybe I'll copy a bunch of these. Let's see here.
Yeah, building on everything that we have here. So cylindrical columns. Santi, you can add that in as well. Pool noodle standing upright as cylindrical columns. I see the color pink, so making sure they know it's pink. Erasers, giant bubble gum.
I like that. Okay, so I'm taking some. I'm putting them in here.
With
so
the
again,
part in the background. That's another one I said.
Varying heights. Okay, Carrie, I got to get that in there, Carrie. Okay, so let's see what happens. So I put this in there. Thanks, everybody. Oh, I don't think I got varying heights in there, but let's see what happens. So it's generating, and it created that 32% match. So this is interesting. So the goal of this is we want to generate that image on the left as closely as possible, and so we're using our words, we're using our language to describe that. And so this is the idea. Yeah, level 2. This is the idea behind prompting. Share this tab right here. So when we're interacting with these tools, we want to be as specific as possible. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're using this AI tool, when you're using, Gemini or Notebook LM, GEMS. We'll see what that looks like. That being said, let's see what this looks like. Let's get into Gemini. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share this tab. So once again, as a reminder, it's still going through the IRMA approval process. If you want to test this out yourselves, we highly recommend you open this up on your personal account. During in that account, you'll have access to Gemini, Notebook LM, and you'll get a chance to test this out. And the hope is, if and when this goes through IRMA, you'll hit the ground running. Okay, so if you look at the layout here of Gemini, it's very similar to other AI tools that are out there, like ChatGPT. Exactly when this comes out, yes. So if you're looking at this, you have an area for your prompt. Okay, so I copied this from the Generative AI for Educators course. I had a PD on that. This was an example prompt. So let's just see what this looks like. Acting as a high school music teacher, create a welcoming newsletter template for the music department with a calendar of events for families, staff, and other students of you. Okay, so it talked about who we are and what we're expecting. If I hit enter, and we've seen this interaction before, in seconds, it'll generate a decent template that you can go back and forth and revise to fit your voice and your audience. Again, the whole idea is you want to go back and forth with these chatbots and make sure that your idea, your identity, your thoughts are still coming through with this. You just don't want to take that first response, but this is pretty good already, right? But I want to show everybody. So yeah, I could modify this. Let's say I wanted to say, make this funnier, add a joke. All right. So if I type that in there as a modification, the design of this, it's kind of like a text message. You go back and forth, and now it's made that modification. All right, welcome back to another month. Try to keep the rhythm and not lose our minds. That's funny, right? So we can go and go back and forth. And then you can copy this and again, modify it. But there's been an update to Gemini that I think it's groundbreaking in terms of how it works. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy my original prompt, right? And there's the hamburger, lovingly, those 3 lines, lovingly referred to unofficially as a hamburger. If I click on that, it'll show me my past chats. But below that, I can add a new chat. There's something new down here that says canvas. So if I click on that and I paste the same prompt, let's see what happens. So now it's processing, and now you get this different layout. And I think this is going to be a game changer for teachers. So in addition to having that traditional chat experience, you now have this 2 window pane where you can go back and forth with Gemini on the left, and then you'll see in real time what it looks like on the right. And I know that's a very simple design choice, but I think this changes everything, because to see it in real time, for me anyway, it gives me a better idea of how this document can evolve and change. So let's say I want to modify it again. So I want to go back and forth. I'm going back on the left side and I want to add more to the prompts. You know, same thing I said before. Make this newsletter more humorous and add jokes. All right. So I type that in. So as you can see, it's going to modify it in real time. So it changed it. And now you can go through it and you'll see the jokes that it made. Let's say I want to update it again, you know, modify. So there is a Spanish translation at the bottom. All right, so I'll do that. And once again, you give it a few seconds and then you'll see the changes in real time in this canvas area here on the right. All right, so modified, if I scroll down, there it is in Spanish, and then it'll highlight what's been changed. Okay, and this is the game another game changer. There's going to be, the whole game has changed. Here's another reason why that's the case. Check this out. If people notice this right here, first of all, you have your text edit. You can edit this on the fly. All right, so instead of school name, you know, PS 217, you can add that in there. Just add directly into that canvas. There's also an export to docs button. You click on that and it's going to do exactly what you think. It's going to open up a new tab. I'm switching to that. And this is everything right here. So you don't have to copy and paste it. It already brought it to a new document. It already has my document tabs in there. Now you can share this with your teacher team, with whomever, and then continue to modify this to make sure that your vision, your voice is coming through in this. It's there come the claps. There you go. Thank you. People found the emoji. Yeah, Natalie, please. Question? If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. I failed.
One question.
Please.
One question around translation. Does the translation update live? Was the question that we had.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by that, update live?
So you changed the name of the school, but if you changed music notes to something else,
got you.
Would that
translate? I don't think so. So you would have to, let me go back to this.
Go back in the chat.
Yeah. So you're right. So I changed this to say music PS 217. It did not change it down at the bottom. So it's not live in that sense. The live changes would happen when you ask the Gemini app on the left side to update it. Okay.
And if you scroll to the bottom now, it does have it in Spanish, but that was because he had prompted it. So you see if you scroll up a little bit, it'll say like Notas de Musica, I think is where it's listed. But yeah.
Yeah. So if you edit here, like within the document, it's not going to update live. Like those live changes happen in Canvas. Mm-hmm. But again, as Danita was saying, like these tools change all the time. If you believe that's something that would be helpful for teachers, leave that feedback in there. You know, and like if there's anything that I've realized, the Google engineers, they take the feedback very seriously from educators, and they'll implement that. So again, going back to what I was talking about, Google Classroom 10 years ago looks different from Google Classroom now. All those changes happened because of the feedback from teachers. So this is just the beginning of how teachers can leverage Gemini in their workflow. So that's the Canvas experience with Gemini. There's also something else. Danita mentioned deep research, which this is crazy. If I have something opened already. So first of all, how do we change language models when we're using? Oh, Danita, yes.
I was just going to ask, can we show Canvas making like an app? Can we
Oh
challenge,
man. Okay. Yes. Thank you for.
can we challenge Canvas to actually make an app? So if we go click Canvas and maybe say, create an app quizzing students on space. Just because I want you all to see.
Is
Thank you, Carrie.
space.
Yes, in Canvas. Let's see what that looks like.
All right. Are people ready to have their minds blown? So this is such a simple prompt. Create an app quizzing students on space. Let's see what happens when I hit enter.
I got it.
Okay, this is crazy. It's coding right there in front of you. This is going to change the conversation on coding. And look, what was that? 5 seconds? All right, in the chat, please tell me, what is the largest planet in our solar system? If you're able to chat. If you're driving, don't worry about it. All right. Largest planet in our solar system.
Jupiter.
Jupiter. All right. Jupiter. I'm keeping. Okay. What's the name of our galaxy?
Milky Way.
Milky Way. Thank you. Thank you.
And then
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you go back to the code, if you select the code there in top left-hand corner on your Canvas, what I love about this is it's actually showing you all of the code. So if you wanted to grab and copy this code and paste it somewhere else, you can. Gemini also shows you the thinking that it has leveraged and included with regard to what it's doing. How can we use this now? As soon as you have Gemini turned on, this is a free experience. You would just select Canvas and then ask any questions that you or ask it to perform. I had to create a website. I did this with students and asked them, like, what do you want to see it do? And it's create a website for our robotics club. And it was able to do it very quickly. In terms of using it now, you can do that. Where is Gemini? Gemini.google.com is where you would go to actually access Gemini. So I just added the website there for you. And you can use it using your personal account. You can also request through leadership to have it get it turned on. Yeah, I know. How do we turn it on? This is exciting. I see everyone. So, clearly, this is something everybody wants, which is great. That lets me know we're hitting the mark with regard to functionality. So right now, it sits behind a filter. So you could technically have it turned on within your school if you request to have the filter turned off. However, next week, which is why we wanted to host this session with you all now, you'll have the ability to actually have it used using your school managed account. So you'll be able to do that. I'm just reading Rob's response. But yes, you'll be able to actually use your school managed account and be able to have this turned on. I have all of your email addresses. I'll send an email and let you know it is live and give you information to be able to go ahead and get started. But yeah, there's so much you can do with Canvas, and it teaches you. We talked about school. So Linda, it would be your at schools.nyc.gov. Right now, you can use at gmail.com to use this. However, that's challenging because at schools.nyc.gov, you can put in your school information, any information you can put in there, and you don't have to worry about anything, conflicting with regard to data protections or anything like that. So that's what we're waiting for. And that's something that will be live, next week. That's what we're aiming for.
So folks, if you want to test it right now, please feel free to open up your personal accounts and test it out. I just made another app in 2 seconds asking to test on the U.S. state capitals. All right. So what is the capital of Wisconsin? As a Chicagoan, I know that it's Madison. And so we can modify this, right? So it says correct. First of all, I just built an app in 10 seconds. Like let that sink in. What are the possibilities that your students can do, that you can do as an educator? You can create interactives using your existing resources immediately. Okay. And then again, just like how we were revising that newsletter, we can revise this code. All right. So we can go back and forth. So right now, the preview of this, the buttons are purple. Let's test this out. Can we update the buttons to be blue? Let's see what happens. What this is called, coding like this, it's unofficially called vibe coding, VIBE. There's some articles about it. The new coding language is English. If you know what you're looking for, you can start using natural language to start coding things. Look, it changed the buttons to be blue, and I literally just said, hey, change the buttons to blue. That's pretty insane. So that's using Canvas, that's using Gemini. All right. Any questions? Oh, I'm seeing so there's some. Yes, you can edit the code. How can you upload this to Google Classroom? We're gonna take these questions. We'll have more sessions, and we'll make sure we answer the questions. I want to make sure I'm sticking to the to the slide deck here. Okay, folks, if you haven't already, if you want to, if you're available to, feel free to like test this out on your personal account. Right now, I would love people to share in the chat. What would you want Gemini to help you with? Maybe you started using it already. What did you start asking Gemini to help you with? What do you anticipate asking Gemini to help you with? Again, we are just in the infancy of how teachers can leverage these tools. I want to have these conversations so we can give each other ideas on how we use this. Thank you so much. People are sharing lesson planning, creating regions, multiple choice questions. Yes, differentiation. I feel like the goal of so many EdTech tools is differentiation, right? We have so many students in our classrooms that have different skill levels, different skill sets, different backgrounds. These tools can truly take our existing resources and make them tailored to who our students are while saving time. It always comes back to this idea of saving time. All right. Data analysis. These things are, yes, these things are good.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Okay, so what you just created with the US capitals and the solar system, blah, blah, blah. Can we just easily upload that to the classroom? So that will be interactive? Or do we have to do something else to get it into the Google Classroom?
You would have to do something else. I can take that question just because Classroom does not allow currently for you to just put like as a teacher to leverage code to implement into Classroom, right? So you can't take code and paste it somewhere in Classroom and have it pop up and show. That would require like that's development resources, right? So that would be something that's done more at the senior level for you. However, you can take code and there's another place within your on your device where you'd be able to upload that and then have that be shared for students. But yeah, no, currently you can't just input it directly in the classroom and change the UI of the classroom experience for your students.
Okay, thanks.
Janita,
Okay.
I'm thinking out loud here. If a teacher made a Google site, and I know
Yes.
there's an option, I know there's an option to add an HTML tag in there.
Yep. That's
So-
where that could live. So you
yeah.
Yeah. And Carrie, this is all great feedback. And yep, sites is where you can now code into your site and have your students go in and be able to answer there. And then also what I will say is whatever you're seeing here, the way your mind is thinking through all the different ways that this could be integrated into the full Google environment. We talked about that full tech stack. That's how our developers are thinking, right? That's how our engineers are thinking. That's how our classroom team is thinking. So you're not alone. This is something we're thinking about. That being said, this is a start. It's a separate team who actually develops the Canvas piece, and then another team who develops the classroom piece. So they're all in conversation. We have an AI track for and pilot for Google Classroom. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of deeper integrations across all the ways that we're leveraging and using AI. But I'm happy to hear that you all are excited to start coding now, because why not with Canvas?
So is there a tutorial to create a Google site for those who are new to this?
Is there a tutorial on how to create sites? Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many on YouTube. I personally have made one, but that was a few years ago. But yeah, YouTube can be such a wonderful learning resource. There are things there, resources there. I just want to share something real quick. Everybody, I just made a Google site and embedded that code there right now. So yes, this works. I can demo that like. I'll demo that real quickly. So, oh man, this is interesting. Okay, so I made a Google site. There's if you double click, there's an area to embed a code, right? So I grabbed the code from Gemini, I pasted it in here. Oh wait, that's URL, embed code. And then I hit next, I inserted it, I published it. And then I can view my published site. And so here it is. That's the interactive we just made, and we just put it on.
I have a question.
Yes.
Now, when you click the answers, where is that going? And can you see that? Oh, so it just shows you whether it's right or wrong.
Correct.
There's
But then,
no
like,
like data collected from it.
and not yet. I mean, you could always code
Okay.
something. You could always go back and forth with it in
Yeah.
Gemini, right? So, like, again,
Okay.
we just made this immediately. So, I mean, to answer the questions before, how do you share this with your students? This is one way. Okay. So
And
let's
the more refined you get with the prompt, the more you can do. So that goes back to what Santi was saying earlier. Like the more you tell it through your prompt, the more it's going to be able to do for you.
yes. So as Anita mentioned, students 13 and up will have an option to leverage Gemini. More information on that, you know, as Gemini goes through the IRMA process and those conversations with leadership happens. Let's move on. It's 5:44. We got a lot to cover still. Gems. I'll talk about gems really quickly. Okay, so let me just start brand new here. Gems, personalized AI tools. So if I go here, these are the different gems that I have under Gem Manager. So what is a gem? So gems are pre-trained tools that will give you a specific output. What's an example? Here, field trip planner. So first, let's see what happens. I say hi. It's going to give me what grade level, what's the focus? 6th grade, science. All right. Now it's giving me information about possible field trips to go to. And let's just say I want to focus on space. Now it's going to revise it, and now it's giving me, you know, we could possibly go to the planetarium. We can go with the estimated cost, you know, more ideas. All right, Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum, etc. So how does this work? So if we go to our Gem Manager, these are gems that are pre-made by Google that you can test out. These are gems that I made that you as teachers can make. So if I hit edit, this is a preview of what it looks like. You give this specific instructions. So my instructions for this field trip planner gem is that you're an interactive field trip planning assistant. Your aim is to greet the user, ask the grade and subject, you know, provide engaging field trip suggestions within New York. You can modify this however you want, okay? And then you can start using it. Another one I have, a rubric wizard. So why would you use gems versus your regular Gemini app? You can use a gem if you want to keep sort of going back and like using the same prompt, the same descriptions, because if you open up a new chat, you would have to add those prompts in there again. So this is saving time. If you want to go back and you know you want to make new rubrics or you know, find information on field trips, you can go back to the gem and get that same response. So rubric wizard, you know, again, another example. Hi. So do I want to make a new one or upload an existing new? And just to say, all right, high school English. And then it's going to go back and forth. It's going to want your input on this because I programmed this to keep asking me for input. But for time's sake, I'll say, you complete it. You know, this is for Shakespeare. I'm going to spell that wrong. I'm going to leave it spelled wrong. I will evaluate at the end. All right, so it's doing the heavy lifting for me. And here's the rubric already. All right, so you can, again, you go back and forth, you tweak it, you make sure that it's relevant to your class. And here, since these are Google tools, you can export this directly to Sheets, or maybe you want to add standards in there. You know, include ISTE standards. All right, there you go. We added the ISTE standard in there already in seconds. Again, you just continue to modify. If you want to export it to Sheets, you give it a few seconds, open up in spreadsheets, and then here it is, okay? And then you would just reformat for all the Sheets wizards out there, okay? So these are gems. Again, personalized AI responses. In the chat, please share what kind of gem you would make, what ideas you have. What do you think would be helpful to you? again, to just share some ideas on like what kind of gems. So we talked about a field trip planner, rubrics. You tell me, what do you think you'll be using? All right. Oh yeah, deep research. Shall I show that to Nita real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also, if you have some that are already created.
I do. Okay. Okay. All right. If you hear any crashes in the background, that's my 2 and 5-year-old boys. They're probably going to burst in the room anytime soon. So don't worry about it, folks. Deep
We hear
research.
nothing. Gemini is blocking out all of your external sounds.
Oh.
So you're safe. You're safe.
Nice. Nice. Okay, folks. Let me just show you what it looks like while it's working. So let me make a new chat. So I showed everybody Canvas, right? So that if you're using this specific flavor of Gemini 2.0 Flash, you'll have an option for Canvas. If you click on deep research, what that does is if you're researching something online, let's say, you know, the pros and cons of having cell phones in schools or banning cell phones in schools. If you're doing research on that, you're going to be going online and Googling a million links and compiling a research document. And that's going to take you a very long time, depending on how, you know, how thorough you want to be. All right. So what deep research does, it takes the power of AI and automates that for you. So you would click deep research there. All right. But I'm going to give you what I have here. So this was my prompt. Show me the pros and cons in banning cell phones in K-12 schools, specifically through the lens of a teacher in New York City. It went through, I'll show you how many links, and then it provided this research paper on its research. So you can go through that, the advantages, the pros and cons. We can read through that. But folks, check this out. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, these are the different sources that AI went through to generate this report. Think about how long it would take you just to visit these sites, not even read through them, just to visit all of these sites. Chalkbeat, Reddit, EdWeek, TeachHub, Edutopia. It went through all of these different sites and it generated this report. Okay, so then you as an educator, as the holder of knowledge, of the expertise, you would read through this. And you are the judge whether this makes sense, whether you want to share this with your colleagues or your students. So it's great for exemplars. Yeah. So deep research. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to add to that, Colleen, when we talked about metacognition and deepening metacognition, it'll teach you as it's going through and doing the research. One, when you put your prompt in, it'll create a research plan. And then you can say whether or not you want to adhere to that plan or you want to make changes to that plan. Then it'll show its thinking. So it'll actually show you in real time exactly how it's working. Linda, yes, in terms of not needing to think as much, what's really great about the way that we're approaching this, so if you click, so watch how, look at how this is going. So here, if you click more, Santi, right up there in the above analyze results, more, it'll show you what it's doing. So this is teaching me as a non-researcher what I need to do in order to research. So it's telling me what steps it's taking. So if you just go ahead and scroll down and click create, but I can take out any of those steps. Click start research. And then it'll actually show you the thinking in real time. So what you're seeing here is in real time, it'll go through. First, I'm starting to think about the good and the bad things. I'm considering the downsides. I'm focusing on New York City teachers. Here are my next steps. I'm looking through all of these websites, looking at the benefits of phones. So you're learning in real time as well and demystifying essentially how Gemini is going about creating this research report. So there is learning that's also taking place in a different way.
And I find this so fascinating when these AI tools, specifically Gemini, shows its thinking, because like you're getting a deeper understanding of how these language models process information and answer your question. So it's very, very meta.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
We're at 5:53. Do we want to show
the last thing? We got to show Notebook LM. We got to show.
We do. We do.
Okay, folks. All right. You think your minds are blown now? This is crazy. So these large language models are amazing because they're trained on every piece of writing in the internet. And when you think about that, like that in itself is mind blowing. Gemini is trained on every piece of writing on the internet. That's why it knows so much. On the other end of that spectrum, if you want to have the power of AI to only pull from specific resources, this is where Notebook LM comes into play. So I was trying to think of the most fascinating information out there. And of course, I'm going to pull out Chancellor's regs. All right. So I downloaded 2 PDFs of Chancellor's regulations from the New York City site. All right. And so now when I'm interacting with this, oh, hold on. Sorry, you didn't. Okay. So this is Notebook LM. I downloaded 2 PDFs from New York City Schools website on Chancellor's regs. Whatever question I ask about this, so for example, what are the key policies and procedures outlined in regulations A101 and A125? I know everybody knows that off the top of your head. I don't. But what it's doing, it's going through only those 2 PDFs, and then it's giving me the answer. And so what's great is that you have these footnotes. If I click on these footnotes, it's pulling the direct source of where in those regs, where in your resources this answer is coming from. And to take it a step further, if you wanted to hear a generated podcast on this, I'm going to play this.
All right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into the wild world of New York City public school enrollment.
Oh, it's a jungle out there.
It really is. And we're going to try to map it out as best we can using 2 key documents from the Department of Education, Chancellor's Regulations A125 and A101.
These regulations cover pretty much everything you can imagine in A125. And here's a fun fact. Children of NYC DOE employees actually get priority.
Oh, wow. So even if you don't live in the city, if you work for the Department of Education, your kid gets a leg up. Who knew?
It's a little... It does. It's very thorough.
Mm.
For kids coming back from foster care, the goal is to make that transition back into the school system as smooth as possible.
All right. Is that crazy? Is that nuts? All right. So that's Chancellor's regs. I did the same thing. New York City Public Schools Parents' Bill of Rights. I downloaded this 2-page PDF, uploaded to Notebook LM.
Santi, I think we might have lost your sound.
Oh,
Parents'
Oh,
Bill
there
of
you are.
Rights in New York City Public Schools.
It's a big one.
And welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You know how we love to get into those nitty-gritty documents.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that really lay the
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
okay. So 4 minutes left. We can do this. So as Danita said, you can put, in addition to documents, you can point a link in there. So you could also just like upload a link to a website and it'll do an amazing job breaking that down. I know we're running out of time. This is just a taste of all the things that these AI tools can do to save you time as an educator, reinvent, reinvigorate the resources you have. And this is really a brave new world for how we're teaching and learning right now. This is one of many sessions that we'll be holding. I just demoed this. I want to, and there's a new course. There's a new course that was released last week. If you really want to leverage how to use these tools, get a better understanding of how to use Gemini, we're going to share this with you. This is a free course that you can take as an educator. And yeah, this is all super exciting stuff. And before I share the CTLE form and sign us out, Danita, is there anything you wanted to share?
I just want to thank you all for going on this journey. I know working directly in education and having AI roll out, it's like another full set of tools and resources that can definitely be helpful, but it's also a lot to take in and a lot to learn. So thank you all so much for joining us. We're here to support you along the way and along this journey, and just thank you. Can't wait to hear what you do with it.
Yes. Folks, thank you for staying with us. We barely scratched the surface. Please, please, please take 2 minutes. I put a link to this feedback form in the chat. Very important for your school district. Please put New York City Public Schools. For the PD partner, please put Project Recess and answer that feedback form. 1 week, man. So 1 week, folks. Yeah, this is nuts. So please answer this feedback after you fill out this feedback form. I'm gonna put in the link to request the CTLE hour. All right, I'm gonna get that link ready, but folks, please fill out this feedback form. Again, New York City Public Schools as your district. And you're going to see a very long list of different PD partners, other partners that are also helping schools leverage AI tools. Please select Project Recess for that. If you need CTLE hours, I just also pinned that to the chat. Please do the feedback form first. And folks, thank you so much. Happy National AI Literacy Day tomorrow.
Woo!
Test this out on your personal account. Once this is IRMA approved, game over.
Absolutely.
Game over, man. Yeah.
We are so excited. We cannot wait. And so we're right at that 1 week countdown. And we'll make sure I have your contact. I'll make sure to blast and let you know that it's available. I think that's Jamie Hamilton. Is that
Yes.
Did you have a question?
No.
Okay, there we go. I was like, I don't know if it was an accident or if you did have a question, but
Hi,
we're
I have
here.
a question.
Go for it.
Yes.
So, you mentioned something. This, first and foremost, thank you very much, because this was freaking awesome. I love this. Okay.
Yes.
So, my question is regarding the pilot that you mentioned at the top of the program of if teachers want to join it to learn more. So, how do we get access to that program?
For the pilot, you would
Yeah.
need to, you know what? Here's what I would say too. Let's email iet@schools.nyc.gov, just because I don't have access to the back end of that form. And then also you can CC myself.
What is your email?
I just added it in the chat so that you'll be able to see it.
Thank you.
Well, I shouldn't pin it because I want to make sure you get Santi's, like what we've added for the feedback form. But yes, that's a place that you can go to. So you can email those two to be able to request to be added to the pilot.
Thank you much.
Santi, they're looking for the title of the PD. I think it's in the calendar invite. Let me go
right here. Transforming Teaching and Learning with Gemini.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, folks. I'll hang out for a little bit if anybody has any questions, but I appreciate everybody for joining. Thank you for the engagement. Maisha was helping out with the chat. Maisha, thank you. Backstage, thank you. And Danita, as always, thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. This is so much fun.
Ari? Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much. This was so informative. Once again, thank you all. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're very welcome.
Danita, what's the pilot again?
It's Gemini integration in Google Classroom. So people who are using Google Classroom want to be able to actually see how Gemini is being used and have access to all of those tools directly in Classroom. That's where you would be able to go.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Google Workspace for Education domain.
Yes, Jackie, that's the goal. We are working really hard to make sure you have access. I mean, we're covered with regard to all of the data privacy, but we want to make sure that we go through the appropriate IRMA process. So that's where we're at now. We're in the last moment of that. Linda, 1 hour. What's your question?
Oh, okay, yeah, for CTLE hours, yeah, one hour, 1 hour for CTLE, and then so the links for the CTLE and the feedback form should be pinned in the chat. This is the name of the session, and it's yes, virtual.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Wonderful, as always. Take care.
Thank you.
The document, I'm sorry, the feedback document is asking for Google Workspace for Education domain. What is that?
I just put it in the chat. So it's going to be schools.nyc.gov. Everything after the @ sign of your email address.